What do we have in store for silver for the remainder of 2025? Excitement, unless a certain thing happens that could put a stop, an absolute halt to the excitement and craziness that we've been seeing so far this year. I'll explain what that is. This video is not just a price prediction video, but it's a whole lot more than that. Let's explore! In this video, we're going to look at the intricacies of the silver market in general, psychology, and also price suppression. And I think there's a lot to digest here as we are halfway through the year, more than halfway through, as we digest what could happen for the next 5 months in the silver market. This forecast video is in part sort of somewhat of a request. Actually, there's one person who said don't do it that convinced me to do it because I'm just guessing. But you know what? Everybody guesses. It's all just guessing. I don't care how much of a silver analyst you are. I don't care how much you study the markets. If your full-time job is to look at numbers, charts, technical analysis, and all that, in the end, we're all just guessing. In fact, I do admire and appreciate technical analysis. I think there's a lot to be said for patterns, for studying patterns, and that's really what it is. But nonetheless, all of that can completely go away. Your plan for the future, based off of the past patterns, it can be disrupted by a punch in the face of the natural market. It's one of the reasons why, even to this day, even though I'm more open to price suppression than ever before, as a possibility for why the prices of silver have not climbed higher, is the natural market forces that operate day to day. And this channel is one of those that does keep track of and reports on daily movements in the market. And no matter what, one thing I can say with absolute certainty through this 5 months is we're going to see ups and downs on the silver market. We're going to see surprising spikes, and we're going to see surprising dips and plunges in the price. And of course, that's the time to take advantage to enhance your dollar cost averaging and the dips, and also maybe a time where you shouldn't be buying silver if the prices spike up dramatically. My friends at Summit Metals, and they are making a name for themselves, not only by elevating your wealth, but also elevating customer service. So check them out at summitmetals.com, and between now and the end of this month, on July the 31st, you can save $10 off of your order of $500 or more by using the promo code SummitSalivateSummer. So enter that code in. That code and a link will be in the description below. So let's take a rewind and talk a little bit about what's happened up to this point in time with silver. But before we get to that, I want to explain something else. I have done prediction videos for the end of the year, every year since 2020. Every single one of them has been bullish. Every single one. And yet you'd be surprised at the number of people that say that I am down on silver, I'm too pessimistic about silver. No, I'm optimistic, maybe even overly optimistic, because I've been wrong more than I've been right about silver's price. Notwithstanding, I've been correct this year, both times that I made prediction videos, and my next prediction is going to be bullish. And I'm going to save that to the end of the video and where I think the price is going to go, because there's a lot to talk about in between there. And let's talk about what happened moving up to where we're at right now and towards the end of July. We saw the price of silver start to gradually climb after we saw it get smacked down after the Trump mentioned his tariffs on April the 2nd. And ever since then, it's kind of gone up. Now, silver and gold were exempt from tariffs, but there's other aspects, including geopolitical events, like what we have going on in Gaza, what we had going on with Iran, the Russia-Ukraine war, de-dollarization, and there's other geopolitical events that have occurred around the world economically as well that have contributed to silver's price increasing, and that's moved the markets. But there's other aspects that are involved in terms of the COMEX and the LBMA stockpiles. there's been a disruption there. And this is the 5th year of a shortage of silver for industrial uses out there, with over 50 to 60% of silver produced being used for industrial purposes. That's a lot of silver. And by the most conservative estimates, if we're not in a deficit, we're very, very close. We're closer than ever before to it by the most conservative estimates out there. But nonetheless, that means that there is a more demand for the metal than there is supply to meet that demand, or very close to that. That is really what has bolstered up silver's price. And it's just the day-to-day markets, the week-to-week moves, and the geopolitics and the other areas that can move the prices based off of emotion and based off of market sentiment. That is just making a case for silver to continue to climb up. And we've seen that happen to the point where we were within 30 cents. We were within 30 cents about a week ago of $40 an ounce. We're so close, we can taste it. I've mentioned that before, and I'm telling you what, I'm tasting it more than ever before these days. As I record this video, the overnight markets are open, and silver's up slightly. Silver has a lot of fight left in it, and I think there's some fundamentals there that are really positive for silver's price to continue to climb. And not only based off of technical or pattern analysis that we've seen, but also just in terms of the supply chain, the structure of the futures market, the ETFs, all the derivatives and the like. And not only that, but also inflation. We have to take that into account too, because really, since 2022, kind of near the height of the inflation that we've seen, the dollar has lost a lot of value. Silver has reacted to that as well. And that is a big player. That is probably the biggest, really the support for silver's price. I think being something that I think that if the worst case scenario, I doubt very seriously we're going to see silver fall below $30 an ounce. I think we're now up to that point. Now remember, just a few years ago, I was thinking $20 an ounce would be the bottom for silver. And of course, I remember the days of sub $20 an ounce, and we were just, chomping at the bit when it got over $20 an ounce. And here we are, comfortably above $30 an ounce. And a critical number that I've stand by to this day is $34 an ounce. I mentioned that before as well, too. I think that is the next real solid resistance for silver, or support for silver, rather. That's a solid support, but a worst case scenario, I think, is $30, but $34, I think, is probably more likely going to be the number that I don't see it falling below towards the end of the year. What's propping up silver right now in its latest run up to $40 an ounce is what's coming up on August the 1st. That is the hard deadline for when tariffs will take effect in many different areas for many different countries. And Donald Trump, as I record this video, has just announced a trade deal with Japan. One of the best, I think he's propping it up as one of the best trade deals that he's made so far. And of course, China still has to negotiate, but there are some tariffs that are non-negotiable that will take effect on August the 1st. And the markets are worried about that, not only because there's a thought that maybe silver may be tariffed, which I kind of doubt that's going to happen because it was already exempted in the April 2nd announcement, but also with the fact that Mexico, Canada, Canada is tariffing silver coming from America. So will there be a reciprocal tariff that Donald Trump may say that could go for silver coming into Canada? And what about Mexico? We don't know for sure, but if it happens with Canada, it could be a potential that it could happen with Mexico too. But nonetheless, there's some unknowns there, but I kind of doubt that's going to happen. But there's hype around it, and there's also concern about what the Federal Reserve is going to do. Will the Federal Reserve lower interest rates sooner rather than later? And there's some talk about that. A board governor said that, as such, that he thinks it's going to happen sooner than September. July 30th, I think, is the next Fed meeting. And so far, an overwhelming majority, over 97% last time I checked, of those participants in the polling for the Federal Reserve to raise or lower its interest rates, think that it's going to remain the same, stay right where it is right now. And I tend to agree with that analysis. I don't think it's going to climb on that day. But if it does, then silver will react. If there's any surprise when there's a high probability, according to polling, that it's going to go up and it goes down by a quarter point, that is a shock to the system, and I think silver would spike dramatically. But I don't see that happening. Now, if they do lower interest rates when expected in September or in August, if it happens in August, I think we'll see silver comfortably go above $40 an ounce. But if it goes up in September, I think we could still see silver prop up a bit and climb, and I could see it going up to $40 an ounce and by the end of the year. But here's what I'm saying is that if there's no tariffs on silver, and given what the Federal Reserve is probably going to do, most people believe they're going to cut rates. That's not the only reason why silver is going to go up. But there's other factors too, because I think some of the supply issues are going to continue to haunt the market in general. And inflation is still here, although not as bad, but it's still, prices are high. And there's other factors and things going on and geopolitically that have come into play. So with that being said, I think that by the end of the year, we are going to see $41 an ounce. I'm predicting $41 an ounce by the end of the year. That's 5 months, within the next 5 months. And whenever I do these prediction videos, I always say, well, I think it's going to touch $41 or touch that number. And if it does, that means that I've been correct. Now, I don't have a number of where a pullback could be other than $34 is where I think there's a solid support. But I still don't think we're going to get that low. And the worst case scenario is $30. So that's my range. But I do believe we're going to see $41 and likely, unlikely, we're going to see it fall below $34. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. It's always interesting. You know, we do like this to speculate, but whenever I speculate or guess, I like to think that it's somewhat educated. I'm not a professional analyst. Obviously, no one should make any decisions based off of what I say or what I guess the price of silver is going to go. It's obviously for entertainment purposes only, but I do like to think that I've got some knowledge of the markets, at least to an extent, to be able to make such an educated guess. But I want to know what your thoughts are too, because your opinion and your opinion matters, and I value what you think as well. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, and where you think the price of silver is going to be by the end of the year, within the next 5 months. So with that being said, I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.